Yeah, recording is good because I have some people who wanted to make it, but they didn't know if they could. So I told them I would send them a link.
Wonderful. All right, so my name is Valerie Elliott. I'm the owner of Y-kiki Divers, and we are going to Cuba in November. And we have a few spaces still available, and I'm confident that's because people might be a little bit nervous with it showing up in the news. But what I wanted to do tonight was I've asked Faith. We're doing the trip through Blue Green Expeditions. She has been there multiple times. Faith Orton's with Blue Green Expeditions, and has all the contacts and also understands how the boat operates, Havana flying in and out, etc. So I felt confident leaning on her to help us with this first trip of ours to Cuba. So tonight, what I want to do is share with you all there is to see and do and dive in Cuba, and what maybe talk a little bit about the boat, Faith, and that sort of thing. And then there is a pre-trip offering November 11th through the 14th, I believe, and we're going to be in Havana. And so we can talk a little bit about that. Hopefully we get to go see the Buena Vista Social Club, that kind of thing, amongst other things. So we wanted to share and answer anybody's questions, and we do have space available. I think between Faith and I, we have, I think there's 4 spots, maybe 5 spots still available.
Yeah,
something like that. So if you're interested, give us a holler at the end. So without further ado, I'd like to turn this over to Faith. Faith, if you wouldn't mind, and sharing your PowerPoint presentation that got us all excited in the first place.
Okay, well, I'm going to show you a little bit about both the Havana part and the Cuba, a little bit about Cuba in general, and then talk a little bit about the Jardines de la Reina, which is the Garden of the Queen. And we're going to be, that's where you'll be diving. And so we'll talk about that, but feel free, because a lot of you folks are coming on the trip, feel free to ask questions about, how this, relates to what you're, maybe things that you want to know about or learn more about, and where you can, any particular emphasis that you might have on what you want to do. Now, how do I do, oh, there it is. I'm not as used to Google, sorry. Share. Window.
Hey, Miss Jerry, can you mute for us?
Screen.
Hey, Miss Jerry, in the meantime, do you mind muting you guys?
You should be able to mute them before you.
No, not at all. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Choose what to share. Okay, hold on for a second. I might have to do a little finagling. Let's see, let's close that. I want to close everything except my PowerPoint. Okay. Close everything except my PowerPoint and mute. Okay, now let's see. I might actually make this work. Okay. Hey, I think it might be working. Okay.
It is. Nicely done. All of these meetings, go-to meetings and Google Meets, they're all a little different.
They are, it drives me crazy. Okay, so let's see. I think we've got it all. So welcome. You're going to be starting the adventure in Cuba in Habana. And no, I didn't spell it incorrectly. That is how the Cubans spell it. So figured that's where we're going. So I might as well spell it the correct way rather than what the American map said. So I think most of you are going to be starting the journey in Miami or somewhere in Florida, really, where you're going to be getting on the flight to Cuba. I know one of the questions people always ask about getting there is, well, wait a minute, what about all these fuel shortages we're hearing about? And that is a real issue for sure. But fortunately, any of the planes coming from Florida and other southern states in the U.S. Don't have that problem because they carry plenty of fuel to get there and back. So they're not responsible for they're not holding Cuba responsible for getting them fuel. So it's a very short flight from Miami to Havana, and actually where the arrow is about where you're going to be driving to get on the boat. Assuming you're doing both portions of the trip, which I'm sure everybody is, or everybody's doing the dive part at least, right? So I started going there in, I'm going to go back up a little bit. I started going there in 2016. Okay, was my first trip there. And I've been there, I think we've run 10 trips there since then, sometimes 2 or 3 a year. Obviously, there was a break with COVID and all that kind of stuff. But we've been captivated by two things. One, by the people. The people in Cuba are amazing. They're the most resilient and positive people I've ever met, despite all the challenges that they have. And the diving and the awareness of the environment is just really incredible. So I think that you'll also enjoy it for that reason. The biggest challenge right now is the lack of power and all of that in different parts of the cities, different parts of the island and the cities in particular, because there's so much overload there. But there are some good things about that, as a lot of the places have converted to solar power with battery systems, and that gives a lot of flexibility to take some strain off the grid. So if the hotels are impacted, and the hotel, because there's only one approved hotel for the U.S. government, if that is impacted, we have also reserved spots at 2 villas right on the water. I'm going to tell you right now, the villas are where I would go regardless, because look at this setup, man. Okay, so they're both very large villas, 6 to 8 bedrooms. Okay, 6 to 8 bedrooms, 6 to 8 bathrooms. I mean, it's crazy. Each of them with a full kitchen, all solar panels, with battery powered generators as well. So there's excellent, and it's got an excellent view of the city and the water. So these are the 2 villas were secured as a backup to the hotel. And I think, like I said, you might want to just stay with that, but we can talk about that later on. They look pretty good, huh? I mean, that's pretty exciting to me. And the location is fantastic. So really, really nice setup there. So that'll be part of what, that'll be one option, or the traditional hotel also on the water. And that is a very well-known hotel in that area, and one, like I said, that the U.S. government is actually approves. And you will definitely still see this. I know that people are like, oh, aren't those cars dying yet? I got to tell you, Cubans are the best mechanics in the entire world. Okay, they can make anything work. It really is amazing. They're incredibly creative, and they keep these cars going. And it really is pretty impressive. So part of your activities in there will be an afternoon tour within these cars that will end at the fort with the sunset over the ocean. It is a beautiful, beautiful place. And yeah, they really do look this shiny and beautiful. I don't know how they do it. One of the other places you'll be visiting will be the cigar factory. This is a very famous cigar factory. It is the largest in Cuba, and it is where those famous Cuban cigars are made. You cannot buy them there. They don't have a store there, but this is where the best cigars in the country are made. And you'll see the whole process from beginning to end. These people are some of the highest paid workers in all of Cuba. They get paid the same amount as doctors do, which is amazing, because their product that they're making is so valuable to bringing in outside income, bringing in resources money from outside the country. So it's a very, very valuable job they have. It does smell like smoke, though. One of the other things that you'll get a chance to experience is Cuban rum. And this is actually coffee and rum that is being poured into. It's my favorite coffee in the world. And that's saying something for me. This is the Cuban coffee with a little bit of rum, and they call it flaming coffee, and it's really incredible to watch them make it. and they have super sweet folks. This is we usually try to go there either right before or right after the cigar place. There will also be a lot of historical sites. This is the big main government buildings in Cuba. This is right outside the Plaza of the Revolution, which is where Fidel used to give all those 4-hour-long speeches. And this is in honor of Che Guevara. That's one building has Fidel on it and one has Che on it. So, and they're both around the Plaza of the Revolution. Has anybody been to Cuba? Nobody's been to Cuba before, right? Okay. I don't know. Anybody know some Cuban history?
Really, no.
You should try to do that before you get there. It's pretty interesting.
Angie sent me a big book. I've already forgotten the author's name, but it's a historical book on Cuba.
Well, it really is very valuable because it's actually got a lot of connections with the U.S., not just the more recent ones, debating over the Cuban Missile Crisis and all that kind of stuff. It is because obviously this is where the battleship Maine was sunk. And used as an impetus for a reason for going into the Spanish-American War. There's a big controversy. They have a beautiful monument there that is well maintained and well taken care of by the Cuban people, actually. But it was used at the time as an excuse for going to war with Spain. And many people, historians since then, have actually speculated that it might have been an inside job, and that the U.S. actually did it on purpose in order to have an excuse to enter the war. Big drama on that. No way of proving it now, I imagine, but it's always been a topic of discussion. This is one of the other fortresses there. You'll see a number of fortresses there that are all Spanish in historically, because of course the Spanish are the ones that first really settled there as Europeans anyway. They pretty much wiped out the indigenous population when they did that. Both from disease and war, and took over the entire island. There are a few remaining individuals with indigenous heritage, but very few. Then they brought in, to replace those, the indigenous people, they brought in a large number of African slaves. So you'll see a very mixed historical, mixed group of people. So of all skin colors, everything from Europeans looking Cubans to dark-skinned European Afro-Cubans who have added a great deal of musical culture to the island, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the Spanish culture is the dominant one for sure, and they have restored most of these monuments and kept them in good shape, because they are a monument to their past and the importance of Cuba in history in the Caribbean. And it also obviously brings in some tourists, because tourists like to see that kind of thing. It really is amazing how well kept it is. You'll see cannons everywhere like this. They're in a number of places, including in the streets. There are cannon emplacements in the streets. A little bit disconcerting to some extent, but this is one of the plazas. There's a lot of little shops around there, a lot of small vendors. And there's a lot of live music in Havana. Okay, there's live music in many venues around the town, and the guide will be able to help you on who's playing where, when, that kind of thing. However, my favorite is always, if we can, going to the Buena Vista Social Club. Now, some of you might have heard of the Buena Vista Social Club. Have anybody heard of that before? Besides Valerie. Okay. Well, it's a very famous band group, and they are an ensemble group. So there's many people, the members change on any given night, but because there's about 30 different people that perform at the Buena Vista Social Club. And they started in Havana in 1991. Now, you might remember that was around the time when some really strange things were happening in Cuban history with the loss of support from the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union collapsed, and they wanted to give some joy to the Cuban people. And they started the Buena Vista Social Club with some of the traditional Cuban music and singers and vocalists. and it is awesome. You won't understand a word unless you speak fluent Spanish, but it doesn't matter. It's one of those things that transcends that, and it really is incredible. They charge. I have not seen what the price is this year. Last year when we were there, year and a half ago when we were there, it was $75, $80, and that included dinner and 4 drinks coupons of any drink. They don't care what it is. The performance itself and the transfers back and forth from the hotel. So I thought that was pretty reasonable for a fun night out, and it really is a good time. This music is a blend of the Spanish history and the Afro-Cubano culture that really created a lot of the dance and the music and the instruments. So it really is pretty awesome. I would highly recommend it. But if you don't go there, definitely find some live music in Havana because it really is impressive. Most of the places you go to have lunch at will have somebody playing during lunch, for example. And here's one of the groups. They were playing right outside the restaurant we were going into. And they just pop up everywhere. You'll see them all over town. There's also some interesting figures all over town. Some of them are historical figures in Cuba, and some of them are just, popular culture kind of references. These are incredible statues. Rubbing the statue is considered to be good luck. So you'll see some shiny spots on different places on the statues, and those are people who rub the statue for good luck there. Some of the musicians, all different kinds of people. It's pretty cool. One of the other places you'll be going to is going to be hopefully is going to be Ernest Hemingway's home in Cuba. And this is outside town. Sometimes it's not open. It does have not the most stable hours, but if it is open, it is scheduled for you guys to go there. And this is a beautiful property that's maintained by the Cuban people in honor of Ernest Hemingway and the support that he had given the Cuban people for so many years. And his boat is there, including the boat that inspired The Old Man in the Sea. And actually, he wrote that at that building right there, that property. So it's really pretty neat. That's a nice piece of history. If you haven't read Old Man in the Sea, you got to read it before you go to Cuba. Mandatory. And that's the sunset over the fort. It's a beautiful view from the rocks there, and it's a great way to end the trip there with that last sunset, or the end the part in Havana anyway. So you'll be in Havana, arriving on a Wednesday. Thursday and Friday are going to be very full with activities, and then Saturday morning, everybody will be picked up and go to the and head over to the boat. And they'll be picking you up. Usually they pick everybody up by noon. They say noon. Sometimes it's earlier if everybody gets in on Friday night, because there are some people that aren't going to be doing the land package. If they come in on Friday night and everybody's there, then they might pick everybody up by, say, 10 o'clock. Okay, just to give a little extra time. Okay, so we'll play with that a little bit. Does that make sense? As far as things to know or what to bring. Okay, first, cash is king. Credit cards basically don't work. Do not count on them. There are a few places that do work every now and then. They will make it work, but don't count on it. Okay, so bring cash for everything, whether it be gratuities or stuff you want to buy. So I have seen art vendors at the art. One of the other places we'll be going to is the Arts and Crafts show. They have a little. They basically have like a flea market for arts and crafts, and you'll be going there as well. And sometimes they will do. I've seen them take Apple Pay. I don't know how they get away with it, but they're doing it anyway. Okay, so they're doing Apple Pay. But don't count on being able to do that. So you do need to bring some cash. The you'll also need to bring your the visa that you will get at the airport, the Cuban visa that you will get at the airport. The letter of authorization, which you'll have two if you're doing the land stuff. There'll be one from the company that organizes the land stuff, and there'll be one from the boat. And that'll be a letter of author saying that you are being you are coming there under the appropriate permit that allows you to be in Cuba as an American citizen. You'll need to have proof that you have a return ticket. I think that shouldn't be that big of a deal for everybody. And of course, you'll need a passport. Okay. Do you have any questions about that? That's usually where a lot of people usually have visa questions, but it really is simple. There'll be a little desk when you go to check in for your flight, and they'll for depending on the airline, usually Americans about $100, and they'll give you a visa. Now your plane ticket. It will also mean that you are covered by Cuban health insurance when you are there. Okay, it is a requirement. The plane ticket has to include that. It's a whole $35, for the time that you're there, so it's not a big deal. But if you do have it, but also it's good to know whether you have whether your own medical insurance will cover you for things beyond the norm. Okay, I remember while health insurance is a universal thing in Cuba, it doesn't mean that access is equal. Unfortunately, used to be much better, not so much now because they're trying to keep a lot of the medical supplies are kept for the purposes of medical tourism, where people are coming to Cuba for the purpose of getting medical procedures at a far reduced price, because Cuba produces more doctors per capita than any country in the world, and not by a little, by a lot. Okay, there's a lot of doctors in Cuba. Doctors are not the shortage. The shortage is supplies. So anything you can do to help with that would be great. If you have any kind of small items to bring with you, we would request that you help with that kind of thing, particularly medical supplies. Even if it's over the counter stuff or a prescription that you never use the whole thing of. I know that doesn't sound like the best thing to do, but believe me, they will appreciate every bit of it. The people that you see there are the staff of the local clinic that we will bring you to. Valerie, did you went there, right?
To the no.
Right? No, okay.
No, but I know Dan, and then I know Karen, right? Is the
yeah, exactly. So basically, it's this clinic is right in the heart of Old Havana, and it is. If you go there, and when you go there, you will be very happy that this is not your health facility at home. Okay, but the people are incredible. They have excellent people there, and every time we go there, we try to bring a lot of supplies for them. Whatever, if you're a medical person, you can get access to syringes or antibiotics in large numbers, whatever it may be. Whatever you can bring them, they will appreciate. If what you got is Tylenol, they'll appreciate the Tylenol. Okay, I mean, but these folks need some help. And we bring big boxes of stuff all the time, and I'll send some stuff with you, Valerie, if it's okay. I've been collecting, but it really is important, and it will mean so much to these people. If that's not something that you feel comfortable bringing into the country, don't worry, you won't have a problem. But just if you're not comfortable with it, that's okay. Even things like soap. Okay, soap and shampoo and toothpaste. I mean, this is the kind of thing they need. The last time I was there, I had a woman at one of the clinics outside the clinic ask me if we had any soap so she could wash her children. She didn't want money; she wanted soap. Okay, it puts things in a whole new perspective, right? When you hear that. So don't plan on being able to buy basic toiletries. You do have to be pretty self-sufficient there. If you did forget something while after you pack, and buy it in Miami, before you get there, because you can't count on being able to get that kind of stuff there. The power strip is usually U.S. or EU. Okay, it's about 50-50 depending on where you are. And so if I would bring a converter so that you can do, either one that way. Okay, that'll hopefully be helpful for you. Then things not to bring. Anything that's with a satellite signal. So a satellite phone, a Garmin, a Nautilus Lifeline, a drone, any of that kind of stuff is considered verboten by the government. And of course, recreational drugs. That probably sounds obvious, but but it's in many ways it's not much different from going to any other less developed country. The difference being that it's right around the corner from here. Which is always a little bit strange for us, right? So things to do before the trip. So there are some forms to fill out. You'll be getting some ones for the boat very shortly. If you're signing up through Blue Green, there'll be some forms to fill out for us. If you're signing up at Y-kiki, I'm sure you have a similar thing. We will need a picture of your passport for the letter of authorization for the land activities. That if you can collect that, Valerie, that'd be all for your folks. That'll be great. And we're going to be definitely make sure you have WhatsApp, because it is the best thing that works for messaging in Cuba. There is no cellular connection in Cuba, but you do have excellent. They do have lots of places where Wi-Fi is quite good. There is no Wi-Fi on the boat. But in town in Havana, there are definitely most places have Wi-Fi. So WhatsApp works very well. If you want to be able to walk around town on your own, download some offline maps for Havana. Okay, and that'll work very well. If you want to do anything financial or purchasing, you want to use a VPN, the private networks that allow you to say where you are and not say you're in Cuba, but say you're somewhere else. Because of legal issues with the U.S. government not wanting U.S. dollars to be spent in Cuba, you can't do any banking or anything like that in Cuba, even if the banking has nothing to do with Cuba. So you have to use that in order to do any banking. There'll be a advanced passenger form that you fill out for Cuban government, a health declaration form, just like a lot of other countries have. And you'll fill that online about 72 hours before you depart. We'll send you a link for that when we get your letter of authorization. And as I said, the medical insurance, check with your medical insurance and see what covers what you're covered by. Alliance does do coverage for Cuba, both trip cancellation and medical insurance. So if yours doesn't cover it and you want to make sure you got an excellent broad coverage, you can buy a supplemental thing from Alliance. Right now, the duty-free allowances are limited. Basically, no cigars, no rum. Art is unlimited. That part is not restricted. The reality of it is that I've never had anybody have an issue with a few cigars and a little bit of rum, but it is technically forbidden. Okay. So we can't encourage that kind of thing. But yeah, it has been done many times, and it doesn't seem to be a big a red flag as long as it's a very small amount. So that's the prep stuff for Havana. Now let's go to diving. So on that morning, you'll get a transfer from Havana to the to Hikaru, which is where the boat is docked, and back to the money aspect of things. Nothing is for sale on the boat. So if you want if you want any rental gear, nitrox, any of that stuff, pre-book it. Okay, you can't purchase it on board. If somebody's equipment does have a problem, they will happily loan you something. But don't, show up there with nothing and not have prepaid for it. They have excellent rental equipment, so it's not a problem to do that, to rent equipment, but they just need to know in advance. The water temperature will be somewhere between 80 and 84, probably closer to 84 that time of year. And the depth is pretty moderate. Okay, usually most of it's in the middle range, 50 to 80. Though some of the pinnacles do drop down and be more like around 100, 110 feet. Very typically Caribbean. That time of year tends to be more on the upper end, 80 to 100 feet. And with very little current, which is really nice. It's a very easy dive site that you're going to. Make sure that you bring a snorkel with you, even if you don't always use one, because you never know what you might see swimming along the surface, whether it be whale sharks, mantas. They've had whales coming through there, and obviously quite a few sharks. They have quite a few sharks there. Does that help a little bit for what you might expect from a diving perspective?
Yeah.
Sorry, I need a little fluid there. Okay. So and that's where you're going to be going from. So you see hookah room down there in that little bay area. And what makes this place special, and the Garden of the Queens, all those different sites over there, what makes it special is that all those islands are basically mangrove islands. Okay, so there's very little real soil, land there. It's all created by masses of mangroves. Those mangroves were first designated a marine park about 30 years ago, a little over 30 years ago. And one of the main reasons, besides the fact that it was Fidel Castro's favorite place to scuba dive, it was also, and he wanted to protect his favorite dive site. But the other reason is the scientists in Cuba wanted to protect the mangroves from being destroyed, because they knew the mangroves were a huge part of the protection of Cuba against hurricanes. Okay. And which we didn't quite learn that lesson in our country. Hence Katrina, in New Orleans and Mississippi. And but those islands, as a result, have been untouched. Totally untouched. They're basically uninhabited, with the exception of the rangers that live there and work there, and they are incredibly pristine. So unlike everywhere else in the Caribbean, they have not had the same impact from development and runoff and everything else going on in the Caribbean that we're all too familiar with. So that gives you kind of a rough idea, hitting all the major parts of the archipelago. And these are going to be these are the skiffs. There'll be two of these, with 12 people on each. Basically, it'll be, they actually can fit 16, 8 on each side, but 12 to 14 is really pretty comfortable. And they'll, just like most dive little boards, they'll put the gear on the boat for you. They'll help you with getting it on in the skiff, and then you're just going to back roll into the water. And you see the ladders are quite comfortable, quite easy to use. Not a lot of sun protection, but again, you're not going out. Since you're basing out of the little board, you're not going out and sitting there for 2 dives. You're going to go out back, kind of thing. And most of the time, they're going to be looking at 3 dives during the day and 1 night dive. Okay. This is the top deck with the sun deck. And the lounge. Question? No? Okay. One of the rooms. The rooms are quite good. The bathrooms are quite nice, actually. And a really big dive deck. Okay. Plenty of room in the dive deck. Pardon me?
I I said, my goodness.
Yeah, it's a big dive deck. It really is. They have a lot of room. And most meals are buffet style. Sometimes they'll do a usually they do a plated dinner, but it does vary a little bit depending on what they're serving. Because it is in a place where there's a plethora of seafood, and there's nobody out there fishing it, they are allowed to take a certain amount of local seafood. So plan on, if you like lionfish or lobster, you're going to eat very well. Okay, lionfish and lobster are pretty common meals. They actually did lobster omelets one morning. I was like, really? That's just like, there's something wrong with that. Even if you like lobster, that's like something wrong. But anyway, but it's all freshly caught. It's not, all caught by the dive guides, and not caught in a way that harms the environment. So it's really quite a sustainable system. Be aware that obviously they have challenges with what they can get for food. It is supplied by a European ship that comes in to supply them several times a year, with direct supplies for the boat. However, it is a European ship, which means they have different tastes than most Americans. So if you like peanut butter, as someone who likes peanut butter, bring a jar of peanut butter. Because it's stuff like that, stuff that's American. You know what I mean? They also are very big about mojitos. Okay, mojito. They do not charge for alcohol on the boat. Again, because they can't charge you. They can't charge you, ask you to pay for anything in Cuba. So alcohol, beer, and soda beer, and wine, and rum are all included. Okay. So, not bad system. And sometimes, no matter how difficult supplies are, they always have mint for mojitos. I don't know how they do that, but they always seem to have that available. If you are interested in something else if there is something else you want, you can bring it. Okay, that is not a problem. I mean, don't try to bring a case of vodka or something, but if you want to bring a bottle of something, that's not a problem at all. Yeah, lionfish. Most of you probably have lionfish, right?
Yeah.
One of the things you will find is that you won't see as much lionfish underwater as you might expect compared to the rest of the Caribbean. And I think it's because they've done such a good job of teaching the sharks and the groupers to eat them. They've done an incredible, and some of the guides will explain to you how they did that. It's really pretty cool. There'll be some landings onto some of the very small islands. A lot of iguanas, coyote bears. Again, most of these animals never see any people. You will hopefully get to see a crocodile in the water. We always try, don't always succeed. For whatever reason, they're not the most easily trained things to come on command. But if you do get to see one, it is really awesome.
You should try to avoid.
What you will see are very healthy reefs. The reefs there are largely hard corals, like most of the Caribbean, not a lot of soft coral, that kind of thing. But they're incredibly intact, and they're incredibly filled with fish. I mean, just everywhere. There's a lot of fish. And not just small fish, but big fish. That's a huge sponge. Okay, so lots of little stuff like normal. You see that on most places in the Caribbean, but also lots of big fish. There's a lot of tarpon. There's several places where tarpon are extremely prolific. Apologize for the volume. That's my video, so it's not well edited, but
That's amazing. And then the shark cruising around in the background.
yeah, you saw that. This is not an unusual experience. Sorry, it's my bad video, but
No, it's good.
Good.
That's Rebecca and Tom.
Ah. Is she in a dry suit there too?
You might be, but it was only we only had 78 then, you know. Quite a few turtles. They have a turtle nesting protection program there. Just lots of the Caribbean fish that you typically see, but lots of them.
Beautiful.
Yeah. They also have large numbers of groupers. I mean, the groupers are everywhere. They are some of the groupers, especially the big ones, the Goliath groupers. The Goliath groupers were taught by the dive guides on these boats to hunt lionfish. So every time they see the dive guide, and divers they get really excited because they think that you're going to help them find lionfish. Okay, so they will follow you around. It's pretty funny. They are not afraid.
Oh.
Yeah, they are not afraid of you. They are just everywhere. You'll find this, those of you going to the Azores too, there'll be, you'll find quite a few of these kind of grouper in the Azores as well. And they also are similarly unafraid of people. And to the point where they follow people around and wonder if you're going to scare something up for them to eat. This is one of the Goliath groupers. These things are the size of a Volkswagen, or at least it seems that way. A lot of sharks. Okay, so a sign of a healthy reef is lots of predators, right? So there's quite a few sharks there. You'll see great reefs; those are quite common. Swimming, they're very, very. I mean, most dives you'll see sharks. Certainly, gray reef and nurse sharks is probably the most common ones.
Great picture.
That one wasn't mine. You can see that's a good sized nurse shark, huh?
Yeah, it's a big one.
That's a big nurse shark.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. The sharks are just amazing. But for me, it's really the silkies. Okay, because there are at least two dive sites in which there's a huge number of silky sharks that hang out over these pinnacles, and they're not fed. Okay, they're not fed. They're not baited. They're and remember, the dive boats are only there like once a week, right? You know, I mean, and so I don't know why they go there. Okay, but they do, and they hang up in the shallows, and you'll arrive there, and they'll already be there. I mean, it's like they're always there, and the longer the people stay there, the more of them will come because, of course, they'll hear us in the water, right? But these silkies are amazingly curious, and they'll swim up in the shallows. This is all in like 20, 30 feet of water. The bottom's in about 90, okay, because this is one of the pinnacles that I was talking about, 80, 90. And just look at it. It's crazy, right?
Wow.
I mean, this is insane. So, I mean, even if you have somebody who's not a diver, and I've had a few people come on the trips and not as divers, and I take them in snorkeling with these guys, and it's insane. They go crazy. They just love it. And at first they're scared to death, you know, and then they're like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!" They are just interested in us and curious. I love it. And there's us getting up in the. Some people are getting up out of the water, and I've had a shark literally swim between my legs.
Yay. Wow.
And yeah.
That's beautiful.
Isn't it incredible? Ah, here we go. Here's one coming close.
Oh, a big one. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Pick me.
Right? I mean, not bad, right? I mean, so I mean, this is a really incredible opportunity, and to be with sharks in such a non-threatening way, where they just seem like, yeah, okay, you're just part of the environment here, just like me, and we're just checking you out, and it's a what you just don't see that anywhere in the Caribbean that I know of, at least. You guys probably do that. Valerie, you've been to the Caribbean more than I have, at least recently.
Yeah.
So I've never seen that anywhere. You have to go to Fiji for something like that, right? Or something like that kind of thing. Okay, sorry, give me a show it to you again. There we go. So I think that hopefully when you're there, it's going to be, you're not just there to have a good time. It really is important that we contribute to the Cuba's effort to protect those reefs like they've been doing, and also to support the Cuban people. They deserve our support and respect for their incredible resiliency and spirit. It really is an amazing thing. So I hope you guys are looking forward to it. For those of you who aren't coming yet, maybe you will be. And because the good part about things opening up down there is that hopefully the Cuban people will have a better deal of it down the road, which I think is in the not too distant future. But it'll probably mean a lot more people going to the Garden of the Queens, and you know what happens when that happens, right? Is the numbers dilute the experience. So I hope that I like to want to get there as often as we can before it gets ruined. And hopefully you guys will feel the same afterwards.
Absolutely.
So I think that's it.
So, Faith, the Oceans for Youth, that's been around for a long time, and it's an entity. They create not curriculum, but they create the opportunity for us to come down and be under a permit. Correct?
Yeah. So Oceans for Youth is a foundation that supports the training. I'm sorry, the education and the research in the entity, in the park, and we're there under a permit that is called the Support for the Cuban People. Because the program does support the Cuban people, both from a financial standpoint and also because when you're in the park, you're going to be doing they'll ask you to participate in reef surveys. And that data is very important to them because there's very few scientists there. And when you see the support they're given, because they just don't have any money, right? It's really sad, and anything that we can do to help them is really appreciated. So any kind of data or pictures, they'll ask for that kind of stuff, pictures, not because they're trying to, sell anybody's picture, but because they're trying to identify certain sharks and patterns of the sharks. So it really is a great opportunity to support them. But it's also a very educational experience, both about learning about the culture and the history and the people themselves, but also about those reefs and how incredible they are and how good a job they've done at protecting them.
Good. So, does anybody have any questions? Yeah, Miss Pat does. Oh, you're not. You're still muted.
You gotta unmute yourself there, Pat.
I found it easier to do the button on the bottom, right below the button on the bottom with the microphone. Just click on it.
Okay. Okay. So my first question is, what is the name of the hotel?
It's the Grand Mufre.
Spell it GRAN.
Yeah, GRAN MUFRA or U. I think it's A.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. The one in front of me. Yeah.
No worries. And then the outing, I'm confused. The outing at the Buena Vista Social Club, because of the last email I read and expressed an interest in, I thought that was going to be the last night we were there before we went home. Is that accurate, or is that?
I've asked them to make it the last night. We have to make sure that they're playing that Friday night.
Okay.
She had done a check on it originally and had already confirmed they were playing on Thursday. But usually they would, obviously Friday night is a usual time that they're playing, right? So as long as that is still available, we'll switch it to Friday night so that people who are coming in on Friday can go as well.
Okay. Just an FYI, I went out and checked their website. They are very, very active. It is $70, right? It was last week for a 4-course meal, 3 drinks, and dancing till 11 or 11:30. So it's a go. And then what the pack with the purpose, if we're not coming in until the Friday before we get on the bus in the morning, I was gonna bring some stuff, but is that, and I don't live in St. Louis, so it's not like I can say, here, Val, take it. Is there, shall I still bring stuff and leave it with?
Yes, yeah, please, because the guides there, the guide that you'll have in town, doing the town stuff and handling the transfer on Saturday morning, they will make sure it gets to the clinic. And I usually bring a lot of times I will leave things for the crew on the boat. I leave equipment, hey, I've done 10 dive trips on that wetsuit already, here, I'm gonna leave, I'll leave all that kind of stuff. I'll leave them clothing, bring them some shirts from Y-kiki, you got some, that kind of stuff, I mean, they love that kind of thing. I brought them a whole bunch of Blue Green Expedition shirts the last time we were there. I mean, a lot of them. I mean, I had all these leftover shirts from like trips that I had extras from and everything. And I brought every shirt I had. And those people, to this day, those people send me pictures of them wearing those shirts. I mean, it's a big deal for them.
Next question, what's the electric, status? What kind of, electrical outlets are on the boat?
I will double check. The last time I was there, they were US, and I don't think they would have changed, but I will double check.
Okay, and then, I thought I understood that we will prepay, the nitrox and we would prepay all those things that were on the boat that were, is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay, and does that include the tip as well, or no?
No, that one they only do with cash for
Okay.
obvious reasons, but that's the one thing that I would bring cash for sure.
Okay,
And then whatever you want to spend in Havana.
okay, okay, so, and that piece will be worked out later, the whole prepaying thing, the nitrox.
Yes.
We get closer,
Yes.
yep.
Okay, I just wanna say that this has been enlightening and really helpful. And I sat in on the first one. This was a lot more expansive, and I really enjoyed it, and it was extremely helpful. So
Good.
All right, Miss
Ready?
Patty's got a question. Is that okay, Pat Huff? Are you okay?
yeah, I'm done. That was all I had.
Okay, Miss Patty
Okay.
Williams.
I just wanted to look at the email, and it's for the dinner. It's Friday, November 13th, which is before the dive trip, after the Havana part and before the dive trip.
Okay.
So that's what the email says. So just clarifying that.
Oh, good job. So we would be there then.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was it. This has been great. Thank you.
Good. Lenny,
Valerie,
you have
I have
any
a
questions?
question.
You're good. You're good? Okay. Dane Tippett has a question.
Okay, so I got two. One, the book I read recently it's an American history. It's
Yeah.
called Cuba by Ada Ferrer, Adaferrer.
That's the
It's the
one.
whole history from the beginning of time to through Castro. And it's great.
Good. I think I'm gonna
Yeah, I
take that
highly
one.
one of the other things I would recommend when you were there is there's that you will find some things like at the whatchamacallit, Ernest Hemingway's. At Ernest Hemingway's place, they usually have some little stands that sell like Cuban history, because he's a part of Cuban history. I mean, they really they kind of adopted him, and they have some little stands with Cuban flags and Cuban stuff like that. But one of the things that, just from a perspective standpoint, I bought a book there of Cuban American history from the Cuban perspective.
Mm.
It was, shall we say, a little different, and I'm not saying it's accurate at all. That is what I'm saying, actually. But it gives you it shows you what they're learning.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And maybe it gives you a little bit about their perspective. It makes you appreciate their perspective a little bit. If this is what they're learning, then it does explain some things,
Absolutely.
you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, very interesting.
So I do
So-
want to, I'm sorry, Dane, you said you had two things interrupted.
Yes, sorry. I saw in the email that they do have DIN adapters, so that means that they don't have any DIN valves on their tanks, apparently. Is that correct?
No, they have the pro valves.
Oh,
So
perfect.
you know, the plugs that unscrew for DIN.
Okay. I'm done. Valerie, it's all yours.
Okay, well, just a couple things that I wanted to make mention of and to get confirmation from Faith. First of all, the ship has been continuing to offer charters, has been running continuously. Yeah, I mean, I had Angie and Cindy on the ship a year ago, I guess, but they've been
Not
continuing.
quite, not about in January, right? Was it in
Something
January?
like that, yeah. But they've been continuing. So our perspective is that, you know, the whole country stopped, and that is not the case at all. And so they do have their separate fuel connections, right? They also have they're self-sufficient. They've got generators, everything else the ship does. In the city, their what their focus is to make sure that tourism is operational. So they're actually funneling things to ensure that tourism continues to operate.
They need money.
They want our dollars. They want us there, right? And so they're going to try to put their best foot forward with what they've got. So so the hotels are running off of generators if needed, right? All of those things that should not be a concern for us. And supplies, Faith. I mean, they're able to get supplies and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, no, and I'm not saying there aren't challenges. Okay, there are, you know, and but they've done an incredible, as usual. People always seem to find a way. You know, they are definitely that kind of a people, and they found a way.
And then I also want to make mention for those that are not already signed up for the trip that have already heard us talk about this. But Faith has a contact that is basically boots on the ground, and she's been providing us with information and intel and keeping us apprised of concerns and logistics and that sort of thing. And her name is Myra, correct?
Yep.
And so Faith and her have been chatting. Just to reassure that we're can confidently move forward and send monies and that sort of thing, and that the trip will run. And I'm very excited to go. Just as Faith was mentioning, I especially with Angie and Cindy having gone most recently, but I want to go see those reefs. And I think those of us with some from we have we're blessed in that we've been able to go to the Caribbean and visit places. But I think this is an opportunity to see maybe the Caribbean as it might have been, many years ago, right? So without they've not succumbed to all the stressors that some of the other islands have, just because it is cut off from the United States.
For better or for worse, right?
Right. So,
Yeah.
so I agree with Faith in that this is a rare opportunity, at least for Y-kiki divers to go, and I'm pretty excited about the opportunity and seeing the diving and seeing Havana for myself with my own eyes, and also supporting the people, right? It's hard to separate the people and government, but to support the people, and so I just want to answer anybody's specific questions if you have questions, because it does show up in the news and it's not sunshiny, right? So I want to make sure I'm answering anybody's questions if you have them tonight to reassure.
I do have a question. This is Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Hey, the land package, the pre-trip, is that $1,800?
Yes.
Yeah.
What does that cover?
It covers Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 3 nights in the accommodations, breakfast, and lunches, as well as all the tours, and the transfer, as well as the transfers as well. But the transfers are all part of the other part of the trip as well. But the diving part, but all the transfers around town and things like that.
Okay.
They'll
I
pick
just
you up
thought,
at the
I just thought
airport.
I just thought that Cuba would be cheaper on the land part, so.
Yeah, I can understand why. I do understand that. The challenge we have is that we have to do everything legal. Because if you wanted to go there on the, on your own and not follow any of the rules, you can do it much cheaper. But then you could also get told by the U.S. government that you lose your passport, which I don't think any of us want to do. So, we follow every rule that they require to do this legally, and that means going through very specific channels. So. But that also means that we're protected as well as individuals, right? All of us are protected, and and we've never had a problem. I mean, like I said, 10 trips and counting.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have distilled water for CPAPs?
They do not.
Okay, so perfect. And then just generally, I did a lot of studying a couple weeks ago because I have kids that are diplomats. If you go out to the boat's website, everything that Valerie has said is very, very accurate. The boat has been moving and going, and the fuel, they're getting fuel. I thought they were getting fuel from Russia, and so did my daughter, but actually they're not.
Mhm.
They're getting fuel through a thing that the government did with the US government to maintain viability of the boats that are doing things that provide resources for the people.
Yep. Yep. It's all totally legit, which is very important for those of us who want to make sure we do this legally, right? Yeah. I definitely wouldn't want to be messing with that nowadays.
Yeah, Pat, all the water on the boat should be distilled water because they do it from
Well, that's true. It's osmosis, reverse osmosis water.
it's just the 3 nights in a hotel that you have to use tap water.
And they will give you bottled water. There'll be bottled water in the room because I would not use tap water there. Okay, like many countries, I would. So I would use bottled water for that. But what I did when I go there for the land is I brought a big water bottle with full of distilled water, and I put it in my suitcases. And that actually was not just, there was enough for the boat and for the whole 10 days, because you don't have to, I mean, it's not like you're putting a ton of water in, right? So that worked perfectly for me, and then I didn't have to worry about it.
So my flights, for those that haven't yet booked or anything like that, I got a Southwest air flight going through Miami, directed to Havana. Pretty easy peasy. The only hiccup we had was on the return because we have a bus ride back from the marina back to Havana. Faith said not to make your return plane tickets home before 4 p.m. or something like that, Faith?
Yeah.
Just to give you a little buffer, and which I had done, but then Southwest changed my flight to like 2:30 p.m. so that I could get back to St. Louis, right? But instead, I kept the 5 o'clock flight, and then I'm going to overnight in Miami. And I think a bunch of us ended up having to do that. There's also, I think there's a Southwest flight coming through. I forget what the Hertz is doing. It's American Airlines or Southwest through Houston, I think, or that might be a Southwest flight through Houston. So
I know there's a United flight through Houston.
Okay. So
and a Delta through Atlanta.
Yeah, so that's an option also. But it was easy to book. My flight was $600, very typical, So no problems there. And then I'm just going to spend the night in Miami, get up and fly home. I get home like on the 22nd at 10 a.m. something like that. So.
Valerie wasn't at American Airlines.
Apologize. You're exactly right. It was American Airlines. It wasn't Southwest. So it must be the Hertzes are on a Southwest flight through Houston. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Thank you, Dane. So, so
And I
flight's
will
free.
say,
Mhm.
I will also want to say one thing about you will be amazed at the generosity and welcoming spirit of the Cuban people. You know, I went there for my first time, you know, right after, the election in 2016. And I really didn't know what to expect, you know, and I've gone there multiple times since then. And I'm just amazed. You talked about how distinguishing between the people and the government. You know, the Cuban people do that incredibly well. I must admit, I don't know how they do it so well, you know, but I've never met anything but welcoming enthusiasm. Thank you for coming to our country. Thank you for learning about us. Thank you for not just listening to the news and coming here and learning.
Good.
You know,
I agree.
so
I agree.
it's a wonderful thing. It really is.
So anyway, if you are interested in joining us, like I said, we do have a couple of cabins still available. So reach out to either me or Faith and let us know. And I think that's all we've got for this evening, unless somebody has additional questions. We're happy to field. All right. Well, I am heading home to finish packing for Azores. I just put on, Faith, I actually took my 7 mil, which is a little thin. It's one of those stretchy suits, right? So it's a little thin. And I took it with me to Fiji. So I've just put on a shorty wetsuit over the top of that. And my arms stuck out like, you know, what was that, the Christmas Story? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, boy. So.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna have so much fun.
I am. All right, everybody. I think that's all we've got for tonight. Please join me in thanking Miss Faith for joining us tonight and taking the opportunity to share her experiences in Cuba and photos and everything else. So I thank her for her friendship and her willingness to come and talk to us. So thank you, Faith.
Thank you. I'm so excited. You're gonna have a great time.
I'm looking forward to it. All right, everybody. Holler if you have any specific questions. DM me if you need to. All right. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
I said DM me.